There is someone who carries an incredibly deep love for you, yet they have deliberately chosen to remain at a distance. Before your mind rushes to fill the silence with assumptions or worst-case explanations, pause for a moment. Breathe slowly and allow yourself to become still, because what is reaching you now is not just another passing message. The timing of this moment matters more than you realize. It arrives as confirmation for something your intuition has already been quietly sensing beneath all the confusion and unanswered questions. Nothing about this connection has ever been meaningless. Sometimes the universe only reveals its deeper truths when life becomes quiet enough for the soul to finally hear them. Your spirit already recognizes what is real, even when your mind struggles to understand it completely.
Mashkai sighs. There is someone woven into your story, perhaps someone once very close to you, who feels a level of devotion they cannot fully explain with ordinary words. They carry emotions so intense that they no longer know how to manage them. No matter how much distance they create, no matter how much time passes, the longing remains alive inside them. Do not mistake their silence for indifference. Their quietness is filled with emotions too overwhelming for them to express openly. In fact, the stronger their feelings become, the more they instinctively pull away. Loving you has become both the most beautiful thing they have experienced and the most emotionally terrifying. Deep inside, they know this truth even while their behavior tries to hide it. The reason they stay distant is because you reached them at a level very few people ever have. You awakened parts of them that had been buried beneath years of emotional defenses and carefully constructed walls. Something within them that had been asleep for a very long time came alive through your presence. As Carl Jung once expressed, when two personalities truly meet, both people are changed by the encounter. And that is exactly what happened between you. You transformed something inside them. You made them aware of emotions, desires, fears, and hidden wounds they had never fully faced before. Around you, they could no longer hide behind the version of themselves they presented to the world. You saw beyond the surface, without even trying. That is why your connection feels so powerful to them. You became more than a person in their life. You became a mirror reflecting both their deepest hopes and the unresolved pain they spent years avoiding. You reflected back the parts of themselves they secretly longed to become, while also exposing every insecurity they tried to keep hidden. They have never experienced feelings this raw or uncontrollable before. With you, their emotional armor disappeared naturally. And vulnerability was never something they learned to feel safe inside. You were not part of the life they carefully planned. You arrived unexpectedly and shifted their entire emotional world in ways they still struggle to understand. They never anticipated how natural conversations with you would feel, how peaceful your presence would become, or how deeply your absence would affect them afterward. What frightens them most is not the connection itself. It is the power this connection has over them emotionally. You became the one person whose opinion, attention, and presence mattered more than they were prepared for. And because of that, they sometimes see you as a reflection they are not fully ready to confront. Loving you feels dangerous to them because it requires surrender. It asks them to step beyond emotional control and enter a space where they cannot predict outcomes or protect themselves completely. To them, loving you feels like standing at the edge of something life-changing without knowing whether they will land safely or completely fall apart. So instead of risking vulnerability fully, they freeze. Their distance is not absence of feeling. It is fear mixed with deep emotional attachment. Part of them genuinely believes you deserve someone more healed, more stable, and more emotionally certain than they currently feel themselves to be. They replay old mistakes privately in their mind. They revisit conversations and moments repeatedly, worrying that their unresolved pain could eventually damage something they consider precious. Inside their silence lives a quiet belief that they are somehow not enough yet, not ready enough, not healed enough, not steady enough. And because of that belief, they convince themselves distance is safer for both of you. But the connection continues following them internally, no matter where they go. They feel it in the quiet moments where logic no longer distracts them. They feel it late at night when the outside world becomes silent. They feel it when temporary distractions fail to fill the emotional space your presence once occupied. No replacement truly satisfies them because what they experienced with you reached deeper than surface attraction. Their mind may fear vulnerability, but their heart remains loyal to what the connection awakened inside them. As Carl Jung also observed, whatever we resist emotionally often grows stronger beneath the surface, and that is exactly what is happening within them now. The more they attempt to suppress these feelings, the more undeniable they become inside their unconscious mind. Their silence is filled with truths they have not yet gathered the courage to say aloud. Old disappointments taught them that closeness often leads to pain, so now your connection feels both comforting and frightening at the same time. You represent something profoundly valuable to them, but also something capable of changing their life completely. That level of emotional intensity scares them. Right now, they are testing themselves internally. They are trying to determine whether they are strong enough to face what this connection truly requires. Outwardly, they may appear distant or composed, but privately, they are struggling beneath the weight of everything left unresolved between you. At night, when distractions disappear, the emotions return fully, because deep down they already understand something important. Even one honest step toward you would transform their entire world. And transformation is exactly what they fear they are not fully prepared for yet. Their absence is not punishment. It is self-imposed distance created by someone trying desperately to calm the emotional storm within themselves before stepping back into a connection powerful enough to change who they are forever. This person is standing at a life-changing crossroads because of you. Not sometime far away in the future, but right now, in the quiet hours where thoughts become impossible to escape and emotions grow louder than distractions. Somewhere tonight, your name is moving through their mind again and again, and they are trying to decide what to do with feelings they can no longer silence. The universe did not guide you toward these words by accident. Something hidden beneath the surface has started shifting, and your soul sensed it before your mind could explain it. Most people misunderstand what happens when someone realizes they may truly lose a person who changed them deeply. The heart does not calmly move on. The psyche does not simply close the chapter and walk away untouched. Instead, it reaches backward. It searches for connection again through small signs, unfinished thoughts, and quiet moments of longing. And that process may already be happening with this person now. What they feel for you is not convenience, familiarity, or simple attachment. It is love, real love, the kind that refuses to disappear even when someone tries to bury it under pride, distance, or fear. Habit does not keep a person awake late at night staring at old conversations. Habit does not make someone type your name, erase it, and type it again. Love does that. Love keeps returning no matter how hard someone tries to escape it. You were never imagining this connection. What existed between you was real from the beginning. It was not created from loneliness or fantasy. It carried weight depth and meaning. The universe witnessed every moment of it unfolding, including the moments no one else ever saw. It saw the way your energy touched them and awakened parts of themselves they had hidden for years. When they hear something connected to you, their entire body reacts before their mind can stop it. A memory appears suddenly. A familiar phrase reminds them of you. A song pulls them backward into the emotions they tried so hard to control. Their chest tightens, their breathing changes, they pause longer than they mean to. The body remembers what the mind attempts to deny. They noticed when you stopped reaching for them. They noticed the moment your energy became quieter, steadier, more self-contained. Anyone who truly stopped caring would not spend their nights replaying memories or wondering whether they should come back. But this person is not free from the connection. They are standing between fear and desire, trying to decide whether they have the courage to cross the distance they created. The psyche moves carefully when it fears rejection. First come the subtle signs. They check your profile more than once. They revisit old messages. They linger on something you posted without reacting to it. They ask mutual friends about you casually, even though the question carries much deeper meaning underneath it. They may briefly reappear, then disappear again. These are not random actions. They are searching for emotional safety. They are trying to understand whether the door between you still remains slightly open. Then comes the testing phase. Silence for days, maybe longer, followed by a small message that seems harmless on the surface. A memory, a simple question, a casual check-in that feels almost accidental. But underneath it lives a deeper need. They want to know if your heart still responds to them. They want to see if they still exist within your emotional world. When they cannot fully read your response, deeper emotions begin slipping through the cracks. A short sentence carrying more feeling than intended. A confession hidden inside ordinary words. A moment where the walls protecting them weaken just enough for the truth to appear. That is not weakness. That is love struggling to breathe through fear. At night, their thoughts become impossible to escape. During the day, they can distract themselves with work, routines, or other people. But the night removes all distractions. In those silent hours, they think about you constantly. They replay conversations. They revisit moments they once took for granted. They remember your voice, your laughter, the way you looked at them when no one else truly saw them. They remember how safe they felt around you, and that memory follows them everywhere. Sometimes they dream about you. In those dreams, the distance disappears completely. You are there beside them again, warm and familiar. For a few brief moments after waking, they forget the separation exists at all. Then reality returns, and the emptiness hits them again with full force. The cycle repeats night after night, because the connection never truly left them. What they are experiencing now goes beyond ordinary thought. It reaches into the unconscious mind, into the deeper layers of the psyche that Carl Jung spoke about so often. Doubt was never truly about you. It came from their own unresolved fears, old wounds, and the parts of themselves they struggled to face. You became a mirror reflecting truths they were not ready to confront. Love, this deep, demands transformation. And transformation terrifies the ego because it requires surrender. It asks someone to let go of control, remove emotional armor, and become vulnerable enough to be fully seen. That is why they pulled away. Not because the connection lacked meaning, but because it carried too much. As their inner resistance weakens, something important begins happening psychologically. The projections they once placed onto you start dissolving. They slowly realize the fears they attached to the relationship were actually reflections of their own insecurities. And when those illusions begin falling apart, they finally start seeing you clearly instead of through the lens of fear. This is why the energy between you feels different now. Something within them is reorganizing. The old version of themselves built on avoidance and emotional protection is beginning to collapse. They are being pushed toward honesty in ways they can no longer avoid. At the same time, you are changing too. You are no longer endlessly chasing clarity or waiting for them to decide your worth. Something inside you has become calmer, stronger, and more grounded. And strangely, that shift is affecting them deeply. When you stopped chasing, they lost the comfort of believing you would always remain there, no matter how long they delayed. Now they feel the possibility of truly losing you. And that realization is forcing them to confront everything they avoided before. They wonder if it is already too late. They fear you may have healed and moved forward without them. They imagine someone else recognizing your value and loving you without hesitation. That thought creates panic because deep down they know what you represented in their life was rare. The truth is this: they never stopped loving you. The silence was never emptiness. It was fear. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of failure. Fear of not being enough for the depth of connection you awakened inside them. But fear cannot suppress truth forever. A moment is approaching where the weight of silence will become heavier than the risk of honesty. A moment where staying away hurts more than reaching toward you. And when that moment arrives, something will finally break open inside them. Your role is not to chase or force that process. Your role is to remain grounded in your own worth and peace. Let them face themselves without rescuing them from their own transformation. The universe is already placing pressure on the parts of them that can no longer survive through avoidance alone. If they return, it will not be halfway. It will happen because they finally understand the cost of losing something real. And if they fail to return, then the connection still served its purpose by leading you deeper into your own strength and self-respect. Either way, clarity is coming. Because love this profound does not disappear quietly. It transforms people. It exposes truth. It forces growth. And somewhere tonight, behind all the silence, someone is finally realizing that what they felt for you was never temporary at all. What they are going through now is not just ordinary reflection. It is a complete unraveling of the emotional armor they spent years building around themselves. They are beginning to understand that what they once called strength was actually emotional survival. Closing themselves off, pretending not to care, and isolating themselves from deep connection did not make them powerful. It only made them numb. And numbness can protect someone for a while, but it can never create a meaningful life. Now, with time and distance between you, they are seeing things differently. They are looking back at your connection with clearer eyes and realizing you were one of the few people who ever made them feel emotionally safe. Around you, they did not feel the same pressure to perform, hide, or constantly protect themselves. You reached them in a way that felt calm, genuine, and honest. That kind of connection terrified them because being truly seen means becoming vulnerable to loss. For most of their life, they believed vulnerability was dangerous. They learned to associate love with instability, disappointment, or pain. So when someone like you entered their life and offered something softer and more sincere, it challenged everything they thought they understood about relationships. You made them feel secure enough to lower their defenses, and ironically, that became the very thing that frightened them the most. They are now recognizing that the real danger was never loving you. The real danger was allowing fear to stop them from experiencing something rare and transformative. They are slowly realizing they cannot keep running from themselves forever. They cannot continue building walls and still expect closeness. They cannot create something meaningful while remaining emotionally hidden behind old wounds and unhealed fears. This is why such a deep inner transformation is happening inside them now. Life is forcing them to examine the patterns they once believed would protect them forever. The habits of avoidance, silence, emotional distance, and self-protection are no longer bringing comfort. Instead, those same patterns now feel heavy, lonely, and exhausting. What they are confronting is exactly what Carl Jung described as the shadow self. The hidden fears, insecurities, shame, and wounded parts of the psyche they spent years avoiding are finally coming into the light. And your presence triggered that awakening without you even trying. Simply by being genuine, patient, and emotionally honest, you exposed the parts of them that longed to be healed but were terrified of being seen. In their quiet moments, they think about you constantly. They remember your voice, your calm energy, the way you listened without judgment, and the way your presence made life feel lighter. You gave them something real, and at the time, they did not know how to fully receive it. They were so accustomed to chaos, uncertainty, and emotional struggle that peace itself felt unfamiliar. Deep down, they were never truly afraid that you would abandon them. Their deeper fear was disappointing you. They feared you would eventually discover the flaws they secretly carried about. They worried that once you saw their imperfections clearly, you would stop loving them. What they are only beginning to understand now is that you never expected perfection from them. You simply wanted honesty, effort, and emotional presence. Every day of silence has started teaching them this lesson more painfully. The distance they thought would protect them has only intensified their feelings. Time did not weaken the connection. It deepened it. What they hoped would fade has instead become impossible to ignore. Every morning without you feels emptier than before. Every night they lie awake carrying the weight of words never spoken. They replay moments they wish they could change. They think about the times they chose fear instead of honesty, and distance instead of closeness. And slowly, they are beginning to realize that every time they denied their feelings, they were also denying an important part of themselves. The universe keeps confronting them with reminders of you. A random song, a familiar phrase, a sudden memory arriving out of nowhere. Even when they try to distract themselves, your energy continues returning to them in quiet but undeniable ways. It feels as though life itself refuses to let them fully escape the truth of what they feel. They have also begun recognizing that staying away is not bringing peace. It is slowly draining them emotionally. What once felt like safety now feels like emotional imprisonment. They are realizing they have spent too much time surviving and not enough time truly living. The fear still exists, of course. They still wonder whether too much time has passed. They wonder if your heart still holds space for them, or if you have finally moved forward without looking back. Sometimes they convince themselves you no longer care. Other times, they feel certain the connection still exists between you both. But no matter how much doubt appears, the emotional pull never completely disappears. They are learning something profound now. A soul connection cannot simply be replaced by distractions or temporary substitutes. Genuine love leaves a permanent mark on the psyche. And no matter how hard someone tries to escape it, the heart eventually returns to what feels true. What is happening now is the slow shift from avoidance to acceptance. The inner battle between fear and love is reaching a turning point. They are beginning to understand that silence does not preserve love. It slowly destroys it, and the pain of losing you is becoming stronger than the comfort of hiding. Soon, the emotional pressure they have been carrying will become impossible to contain any longer. Something inside them is preparing to break open. The distance that once felt necessary is starting to feel unbearable. They are growing tired of living with endless what-ifs. They are tired of watching your life from afar while pretending not to care. In private, they rehearse the words they wish they had already said. They imagine reaching out. They imagine apologizing. They imagine finally admitting the truth they tried so hard to suppress. I was afraid. I was not ready. But I never stopped loving you. They know now that you awakened something inside them that can never fully return to sleep. You became the mirror that reflected both their deepest fears and their greatest emotional potential. And once someone experiences that level of connection, ordinary life no longer feels enough. Healing is finally beginning because they are no longer running from their emotions. They are slowly allowing themselves to be seen honestly, flaws and all. They are learning that love is not about becoming perfect first. It is about being brave enough to show up authentically despite imperfection. And this is why the energy between you feels so intense now. The shift is real. The silence is changing shape. The distance is weakening. Something inside them is finally preparing to choose truth over fear. When they return, it will not be from confusion. It will come from clarity born through pain, reflection, and transformation. They are beginning to understand that real love is not the enemy. Fear was. And now, for the first time, love is slowly becoming stronger than the fear that kept them away.